Just when you thought that death-dealing Republican policies couldn't get any worse. We've been talking for the last couple of hours about how the health insurance industry is basically a giant parasite stuck to our backs, and 1 in 5 Americans are now in collection because of medical debt. And of course, the pandemic is not making it any easier. Now we're getting mind-boggling new information about criminality associated and cover-ups associated with the poisoning of the residents of Flint, Michigan, the state where I grew up. I've spent a lot of time in Flint. Jordan Chariton is on the line with us, the CEO, reporter with Status Coup, statuscoup.pub/US, but also a contributor to The Intercept. And this piece was published over at theintercept.com today. His Twitter handle, by the way, which is how we first got in touch with each other, is Jordan Chariton, JORDANCHARITON. Jordan, welcome to the program. Give us, first of all, just if you could real quickly, for people who might have forgotten or might not be up to date, what happened in Flint, how it happened, if we can do that in like less than a minute, and then, what the shocking information that you've uncovered and that you're reporting about right now. Oh, hang on just a second, Jordan. I forgot to put you on the line. That's my fault. Jordan, you are now on the air. I'm sorry. My apologies.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Sure. In a nutshell, there was a privatization effort, which is going on all around the country, to privatize Michigan's water. As a result, Flint was temporarily put on its Flint River, which General Motors and other companies had been dumping waste into for a century. The state did not mandate that the proper chemicals were added to the water to prevent lead and other heavy metals from leaching off the pipes. That led to lead poisoning, in addition to a waterborne bacterial illness known as Legionnaire's disease. This toxic water went through the pipes for 18 months. Residents started complaining in the beginning of those 18 months to the state, the city. They were ignored. Finally, then Governor Rick Snyder shut it down 18 months later. But the damage was done. A lot of people died. A lot more people have become sickened because lead poisoning increases as the years goes on, the effects of lead poisoning.
Right, and it's devastating for children. There was just a huge report that was published in the science journals last week about they found that exposure to lead in childhood actually causes a change in emotional temperament. It makes people crankier. Later in life, it turns them into curmudgeons or worse. So this is serious, damaging, life-changing damage that was done. So what has Michigan done about this, and are they going after their former Republican governor Rick Snyder? And what have you learned?
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's been a bit of a mess. There was a 3-year investigation under the previous Attorney General. He was a Republican. Our reporting indicates they had concluded they were going to charge Governor Snyder with misconduct in office, willful neglect of duty, and they were building a case against him towards involuntary manslaughter. They were all let go and fired by the new Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, in 2019. She restarted the investigation. That's a whole other story. And in January of this year, Nessel and her prosecutors charged Governor Snyder with a misdemeanor. Our reporting indicates Governor Snyder perjured himself to Congress. He knew about the deadly Legionnaire's disease that was spreading through Flint's water 16 months earlier than he told Congress. And this story that we just broke yesterday, we found out that top officials in Snyder's administration, including his press secretary and officials at the health department, their phones were erased shortly before the launch of the Flint criminal investigation. In other cases, their whole phones weren't erased, but all the messages on them from 2014 all the way through October 2015, that was the entire period Flint used the Flint River. Those messages were mysteriously missing when prosecutors got their phones. Obviously, makes it difficult to investigate who knew what when if phones are erased and messages are missing from the crucial period. So it was on the Flint River.
Amazing. I'm also astonished that the Republican AG was willing to go after the Republican governor with felony, or former governor with felony charges, and the Democratic AG is just charging him with a misdemeanor. Any insight into why that might be?
Yeah, so the Republican Attorney General had shopped it out to a special prosecutor, kind of like the Robert Mueller of the Flint water case. That special prosecutor and his team, there was some politics involved. The Republican AG shut them down on doing things like executing a search warrant on the governor. This Republican Attorney General just happened to be running for governor to replace Snyder. So there was definitely politics involved. But by and large, they had a lot of rope to go after Snyder, other top officials. And from what I found, and is in this story also, Governor Snyder refused to hand over documents, key documents, including his daily briefings, for 3 years. So this original investigation was kind of investigating with one hand tied behind his back, their back, but the Attorney General wouldn't let them do what normally you do in a criminal investigation, issue search warrants, seize devices. But they were given enough latitude they concluded they were going to charge him with misconduct in office. They weren't ready to charge him at the time that they were fired with involuntary manslaughter, but many sources that were on the investigation, we learned they were building a case towards involuntary manslaughter. That's been independently confirmed by other Michigan reporters. This current Attorney General, it is kind of surprising because she and her team decided to do a one-man grand jury, which is very rare. It's when a judge decides who should be charged and what to charge them with. It's a secretive process, so we don't know yet what evidence this current administration presented to the judge. We don't know if the erased phones, the missing messages, Snyder's refusal to hand over documents. We have no idea at this point whether that was presented to the judge who decided to only charge him with a misdemeanor. We just don't know.
Yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. We're talking with Jordan Chariton about a piece that he just published at theintercept.com. The title of it, let me get to the piece, and I can give you the title is Inside. Yeah, the Flint cover-up, wiped phones in the battle for evidence in former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder's prosecution. So if we look at what's going on with the prosecution of some of the people involved in January 6th, a lot of them have wiped their phones and thinking that would foil investigators and block anything. The FBI has been able to simply go back to the phone carriers and say, give us the records, which apparently last for decades, if not longer. Has the Michigan Attorney General or has this one-man grand jury been able to go to the carriers and get this information and recover it? Number one. And number two, with regard to January 6th, it looks like a lot of these people are just doing it because they think, hey, I've destroyed the evidence, so I got to do this. But there are some indications that in some cases there's actually an organized effort to destroy evidence, and that is a criminal conspiracy in and of itself. Is there evidence of a criminal conspiracy to destroy evidence, or is this merely, individual players?
So first of all, it wasn't just the individual players. Our reporting indicates that department heads asked them for their phones. They handed it to department heads and in some cases never got them back. And when they were asked to hand in their phones was October 2015. Why that's important, that was when Governor Snyder in Flint held a press conference, finally, after ignoring residents for a year, acknowledging the water was toxic and announcing they would move Flint off the Flint River. So it was soon after that environmental department officials' phones were allegedly dumped off in IT, wiped clean. We obtained emails about that. And that October 2015 period, top health department officials, their phones mysteriously, the first messages come up after October 2015. Everything pre-October 2015 wiped. As far as whether those messages were able to be retrieved, the short answer is we don't know because the Attorney General and her team won't answer any questions about that. What I do know is on oath, the Snyder's press secretary told prosecutors that she didn't have it. She doesn't recall, shall I say, if there was an iCloud backup on her phone, which as a government official, you should have backups on your phones. Other state officials and former state officials in the IT department told us that, back then it wasn't as easy. I mean, this is 6-7 years ago. to forensically go back and get destroyed messages and things like that. Technology has gotten better since then. So, to be honest, I don't know if the message was retrieved, but what I do know is if the evidence we have that there was deleted messages or erased phones, that's tampering with evidence and obstruction of justice. And the obvious question is, how does all this go on without the governor knowing about it?